Hey, this is Brett and Braiden with Fulcrum Home Loans. This is your weekly update. It is Thursday, October 6, 2022. First point. All of our points are actually questions this time, and they all stem from an article that came out in the Deseret News, which is a Utah newspaper, but it talked all about the Boise market. The first point or question, which is the article's headline, was housing bust or first to adjust. So talked all about the Boise market, the fact that it had significant, appreciation and whatnot during the pandemic. The big statistic that they kept talking about was from a Zillow home value index, and that said that year over year from August 2021 to August 2022, we saw a 1.2% decline. And it's the first major metro area that saw a decline in the US. So that's kind of why the article is relevant. Housing bust? No, we don't think that that's the case at all. The Boise market probably saw among the most appreciation in the country during the pandemic, 2020, 2021. And so it makes sense that it's gonna probably be among the first metro areas to see a little bit of a correction. So that's pretty normal.
The Zillow index, you also have to take with a little grain of salt because we're what's called a non-disclosure state. So every single time you buy and sell a home in Idaho, it does not legally have to be disclosed. In fact, it's never disclosed. That's why our property taxes are so much less. There's a lot of things that stem from that. And so the Zillow index is taking Zestimates and what they believe prices are buying and selling for and trying to create averages off of those. They track on every metropolitan area, but they release a report of the top, I don't even know if it's 100, 150, something like that. And Boise was the first one to show a negative, and that just came out, and that's what's prompting a lot of these articles and a lot of thoughts. But it's Zillow's opinion of value last year versus this year, and we're the first major metropolitan area to show a negative.
And that was last August to this August. And so, as Braiden mentioned earlier, we think home prices probably peaked in the first quarter of this year.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, we'll probably see a bigger decline first quarter of next year would be my guess. And that's going to probably prompt a lot more articles and talk and whatnot. But the points don't change. We're still in a more balanced market, in a market that is stabilizing.
Yeah, so point number two goes along with that. So is this a crash or is this stabilization? 1.2% actually surprised me when I read it because I feel like it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
You have to remember this is year over year though. So this is last September versus this September. In my opinion, real estate prices probably peaked in the February, March timeframe of this year. And so our worst year over year will not be until 2023's February reading. So just take that with a grain of salt. 1.2% year over year. In my opinion, from peak to now, we're probably down about 10 to 12%, just looking at the exact same homes that sold in February versus now. Some of these big builders, CBH, Hubble, you can do that. And that's about the downturn that we're in. Now, is a 10% a crash? In my opinion, it's not. This is a stabilization. This needed to happen. We were going exponential growth in Boise. 30 and 40% growth year over year is not sustainable, is not good, is honestly not healthy. We'll start to hone in on what sellers are willing to sell their homes for, buyers are willing to buy at. We'll find that floor, if you would, that stabilization, and then we'll start to grow at a 5, 6, 7% rate, which is much more sustainable.
Third point or third question is, are we overvalued? So there have been a lot of national articles and media that have pointed out that the Boise market is the most overvalued market in the country. So that's the question. Is our market, Boise, Treasure Valley, is it overvalued? I would say no. Has it seen among the most appreciation? Yes, maybe relative to median income and whatnot. But I think overvalued or valuation is based on a number of criteria. The Boise area, the Treasure Valley, has a really healthy job market, has awesome outdoor recreational opportunities, has a really good quality of life where people love to raise their families and whatnot. So I think a lot of people have discovered this market and discovered what a value it is. And that's why we've had a lot of people move here and why we're going to continue to have a lot of people move here. Overvalued, definitely not. High value, absolutely. The honest to goodness truth is that if you've owned a home prior to 2020, you saw a significant amount of appreciation in your home. So your home is worth a lot more, but every home is worth a lot more, costs a lot more as well. So if you go to sell that home, theoretically you have all of that appreciation that would just transfer to the next home, which is good. So if you were in that position, you're probably in good enough shape that you can continue to stay and be a homeowner in this market. If you were a renter or you're ready to buy now, then it's a lot tougher. There's no two ways about it that it's going to be tougher to own a home in this market until you make enough money or you save enough money for a down payment or whatnot.
I mean, kind of two statements, one to make you feel good and one not. To make you feel good, there's a lot of big companies coming to the Boise area that I think will push the job market up and what a livable wage is here in Boise. I mean, Micron's $15 billion expansion, Facebook, Meta announcing they're coming, Intuit's here. So a lot of companies that are based in Silicon Valley and Washington will bring a little bit higher wages, I think, which could help you. But on the flip side, in my opinion, Boise is becoming a metropolitan area where not everyone is going to be able to afford a home. That's sad to say out loud because we both grew up here and it's not what I want for my peers. But if you look at majority of metropolitan areas, ones that kind of resemble us, Seattle, Salt Lake, Portland, parts of California, majority of people that live in the larger cities can't afford homes. It's a catch-22. I want everyone to afford a home. I think job prices and wages will continue to go up, but I think we're turning into a large metropolitan area where that just might not be the case. There will be renters, townhomes, condos, stuff like that will become more and more popular here as we continue to grow.
So what can somebody do right now to prepare themselves to be a homeowner in this market? The honest to goodness truth is high income. Like you need to make enough money. And that generally stems from being educated and having a good paying job. Down payment is a factor, but it's honestly not that big of a factor. I mean, you have to have a down payment, but you can get a good conventional loan for 5% down, or you can get a government loan for 3.5% down. But you need to have enough income to qualify for a $500,000 loan.
There are a lot of jobs also out there. This is almost more motivational that you can make more than you think you can in the Boise Valley. There are a lot of jobs that will pay an hourly wage and you'll sit inside that $30,000 to $50,000 range. And I understand that. But if you really want to get to home ownership, you've got to get to that next level where you're making 60 to 80, 80 to 100. And so you've got to figure out what industry and what education you need to get to that level. Now, when I say education, I'm not talking traditional education. Like you don't have to go to college or get a degree. There are many tradesmen that make that kind of money. There are people inside our company that have high school diplomas and GEDs that make that kind of money. There are companies out there that will pay that 70, 80, 90, 100,000 without traditional education, but you just have to understand what you're worth, get the skills to be worth that kind of money, and then go out there and try. Like go interview for them, go put in job applications, do what you need to, but don't settle for the 30, 40, 50,000 if you believe you're worth more than that.
So that's Brett and Braiden with your 3 points or 3 questions.